Okay, so I clearly buy into the Chargers and Texans. I clearly still think Cincinnati's good. I worry about the back end of the defense for Philadelphia. That's just a problem. And I don't buy the Steelers. So what do you make of this thing?
I make a lot of it. For the third straight week, you get to the Chiefs at number 1, then say what you don't like about them, but they're still number 1. It's an odd tick you have, but that's fine as long as they're at number 1. I warned you about the Eagles last week, Colin.
You did.
I told you that was my one issue with your hierarchy, and I did a little research this morning. I think the hole in your hierarchy, oddly, is the 3 spot.
Yeah.
Preseason herd hierarchy number 3, the Rams. Now, I agreed with you. They've been devastated by injury, but they're already out of the top 10. Last week, herd hierarchy number 3, Philadelphia. They are a disaster, as I told you they would be. Poorly coached, bad defense, hard to trust the quarterback. That's not a top 10 team. They're out. And now you have the Chargers, who I do like. However, I think you might be a little punch drunk on them. I think you said, Quentin Johnston, he can play. Well, after 20 career NFL games, he finally had a decent one. I'm not sure if we're going to remove him from the bust category. And I would ask this, how many teams in the league, now I understand the Raiders did just beat the Ravens, but if you got the Raiders and then you got the Panthers, would be a 2-0 like the Chargers. So I think the Chargers are good. I think they probably will split with the Chiefs this year because they play the Chiefs tough. But I think you're a little over your skis on it. What I will say is this. The 2-0 Chargers are right now underdogs against the 2-0 Steelers.
My favorite bet of the
week. So
I'm
not trying to spoil, I was going to say, I'm not trying to spoil the Blazing 5, but I feel like Chargers +2 is going to be on there early and in a lot of spots. So that's my takeaways.
Well, you know I'm a very humble man, and I don't like to pat myself in the back. I'm almost allergic to it. But
you hate when I do it. You hate when other people do it. You text me on the side like, stop saying all these nice things. Yes, this is all true, America.
But when Atlanta drafted Michael Penix, it was man overboard. All the Belichick fanboys. Bill would not have done that. And I said, if the worst thing in the world is drafting a quarterback and letting him sit for a year behind a grown-up, then they're bad. But I said, Kirk Cousins, if you look at his last 10 starts, Nick, he's completing 69% of his throws. He's and by the way, last night, 102 pass rate. Last night, unlike week 1, he did move less gingerly. I look at Kirk Cousins last night. We could blame Philadelphia, but this whole idea of Penix and Kirk Cousins, how about this? Atlanta may have the best O-line and run game in the league. Kirk Cousins' last 10 starts, he's a Pro Bowler. Maybe Atlanta's just better than Philadelphia.
Oh, I think Atlanta is better than Philadelphia. So I'll talk Atlanta, and then we've got to get to Philly.
Yeah.
I didn't hate the Penix pick. I hated some of the decision tree of it. Like if you were planning on drafting Penix, then maybe spend more money in free agency to upgrade the defense. Now they ended up getting Judon late, but that was kind of fortunate. Or maybe structure Kirk's contract differently so this coming off season, if you wanted to move off him, you could have. But if you truly think he's a franchise quarterback and you don't love the defensive options available at 8, I understood it. With that said, it could have gotten very ugly for them very quickly had they lost last night, because the Chiefs are up next. They have a couple more tough games right after that. I think it's Chiefs, Bucks, Saints. I could have that wrong, but I know they're staring at a very tough start to their year. So had they started 0-4, 0-5, then it feels like, man, you brought in Kirk Cousins and he's instantly on the hot seat. That 2-minute drill last night, granted, maybe against a bottom 3 defense in the league for the second straight year in Philadelphia, it bought him some time. And I thought everyone overreacted to Kirk in week 1. It was the longest he had gone without playing football in his adult life. He was going to be a little rusty, and he's going to get better. I also think by the end of one of my big preseason bets, Colin, was not an actual bet, but predictions, was that by the end of the year, the guy that people think of as the best running back in football is going to be Bijan Robinson.
Yeah.
And you saw some of that last night.
Yep.
So, yeah, I think people overreacted to a terrible week 1 performance from Atlanta against an excellent defense in Pittsburgh and TJ Watt.
But Philadelphia's issues, I don't think, are necessarily solvable. We saw this. This defense is just not great. And also, I mean, I always think of, here's the good news. Barkley is a plus. Jalen Hurts looked terrific. A.J. Brown comes back. They'll be fine. But I look at this team, and here's the predictable outcome. There's too many good quarterbacks in the NFL. That defense won't stop them in January. This team's not a Super Bowl team.
A Super Bowl team? I don't know that they're – I think even that statement might be overrating them. I don't know that they're a playoff team. They have lost 7 of 9. Last year, across the board, they had a bottom 5 defense. This year, across the board, they have a bottom 5 defense. I liked their draft picks, but rookies don't typically instantly help you in the secondary. That's how they were going to fix their secondary. They paid Devin White to come in to fix their linebackers. He's a healthy scratch. I had to listen to people be like, oh, man, you guys let the Eagles get Jahan Dotson. Oh, look at that top 3 receivers. Unfortunately for those folks, I've watched Jahan Dotson's career, and there's a reason he was available for a 3rd-round pick. Yesterday, A.J. Brown out. Dotson runs 25 routes, 1 catch, 6 yards. They are as poorly coached, and I know it's weird because Sirianni's got a great record, but he makes his 4th down decisions like a blackjack player that alternates hitting on a 12 against a 2 based on feel of the deck. And then at the end of games, he makes incomprehensibly bad calls, which is one of the reasons the Eagles, in their last 8 games, 3 times have led in the final 2 minutes and lost. And then there's Jalen, who I did think played really well for the bulk of yesterday because he went back to running the football when necessary. But that doesn't excuse the fact that with 27 seconds, 1 timeout, they were 20 yards from very makeable field goal range. They, in that moment, were fine. They need 1 chunk play or 2 short plays, and you're sending out Elliott to kick the game-winning field goal. And he went hero mode again and threw an interception, down 1, when you were almost in field goal range with a timeout in your pocket. They have a bad defense. They're poorly coached, and their quarterback is becoming increasingly hard to trust. I love A.J. Brown too, but he's out injured. Yeah. I like Saquon a lot, but there is only so much he's going to be able to do. I think Philadelphia is who they've been screaming to us they have been for 10 games of football, which is not a very good team.
I got to say about Caleb Williams, it's one thing to see a red flag. All of the red flags have surfaced. All of them. Coaching competency, Keenan Allen's health, offensive line regression, his inaccuracy, playing off script, like all of the red flags are out. I mean, their best drive against Houston, was aided. It started at midfield, aided by a PI call. My takeaway is this, because there is some Mahomes comps. Structure. I mean, the reason Favre worked in Green Bay is they had great structure, GM, coach, structure. Aaron Rodgers could be prickly and difficult. Structure. Mahomes, structure. Lamar, by the way, can ad-lib it. Kyler Murray's great, but Arizona's structure hasn't been as good. When I look at Caleb Williams, I'm like, he needs strong coaching. Like to get this thing back in the fairway. I don't know if Chicago has it. Because I think, not that Mahomes wouldn't have been successful, but you remember this very well. His first 2 years starting, he got out of the fairway and into the weeds mechanically, and he had to pull him back in. And I just wonder if this staff and this structure is capable of getting him back into the fairway.
So, listen, there is no denying it. He has had a very rough first 2 games. I did think he was much better in week 2 than week 1, but that is an incredibly low bar. And I have to be fair, myself and Danny Parkins have been screaming to anyone who would listen, what a great situation he was walking into. So it doesn't seem fair to now be like, well, it's everyone else's fault. So I understand that. With that said, I think the number one thing the Bears need to do is figure out what's going on the offensive line, because he is getting instantly pressured. It's not like ghost pressures, and then he scrambles and makes a mistake. Against the Texans, D'Amico's defensive front annihilated the Bears' offensive line. I still think he is not only going to be fine, I think by the end of the year, he's going to be outright very good. I also think the Bears, while I clearly overestimated how good the Bears' offense would be at the beginning of the year, I think I might have slightly underestimated how good that defense can be. It was a miracle that they had the ball in the exact position Atlanta found themselves in yesterday. Down 6, chance to go win a game you have no business winning on Sunday night when that offense had done nothing all day. So I think they'll be fine, and I still believe they're at the very minimum a playoff team because I think Caleb's is going to get better. But it is obviously, 0 touchdowns and 230 yards passing over the first 2 games of his career is not what any of us had scripted for him.
Well, I would be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that Patrick Mahomes is celebrating his 29th birthday today.
Yeah.
Time just flies by when you're holding trophies. What do you make of it?
That's right. Well, it's clearly, he's going to hold every under 30 record that he doesn't already hold. He has played 98 career games, and he has tied this weekend. He tied the record for most wins through 100 games. So now he has 2 shots at holding that record by himself. What I would make of his performance from this weekend, Colin, and it's what makes him such a special player, I honest to God thought that might have been the worst game I've ever seen him play. It was the fewest yards he's ever thrown for in a game he didn't get injured in. The first interception was just a what are you doing type of play. Lou Anarumo's defense really gives him fits in a way nobody else's defense does. But despite all of that, despite playing as poorly as he'd played, 4th and 6, gotta have it. Perfect strike. Rashee Rice put him in field goal range. But the refs, who we all know fix all the games for the Chiefs, took that play away thanks to an illegal hands to the face. So 4th and 16, another perfect strike to Rashee Rice. But the refs, who we all know fix all the games for the Chiefs, decided, well, you know what? This guy did just get his head hit by the rookie safety who probably shouldn't even be in the game. I guess we're going to have to call it. So his 2 best throws of the day, aside from the strike down the sideline, were in 4th and 6 and 4th and 16. And that's what makes the Chiefs so frustrating, is I think the Chiefs played a C- game at best this weekend. They had fewer than 300 yards. They had 3 turnovers. They couldn't convert a 3rd down. It was the Bengals. Such a big game for Cincinnati. They sold tickets to $100 a ticket to their home stadium for a watch party, and the Chiefs still found a way to win. They're now 2-0 against Baltimore and Cincinnati without even having played that well yet. So, yeah, I think Mahomes will be better. I think the Chiefs will be better. But the thing is, right now, they don't need to be the best team in the league by a very wide margin.
Listen, you said it. Chargers, you think will split with them. I always think of the league in components. If I said to you, there's an A coach, an A quarterback, the best combo tackles, and 2 edge rushers, that's a good team. I think the Chargers, maybe more than Buffalo and mine. We keep thinking about all these teams. The Ravens are built to beat Kansas City. I honestly think after the first 2 weeks, the Chargers have the best components to beat them. Doesn't mean they will. But if you had to beat them, you'd like power running game, quarterback that doesn't throw picks, pressure on Mahomes. I don't love their tackles in Kansas City. I think the Chargers actually, Nick, are the team that's actually the components are like, yeah, that would give Kansas City trouble.
So I just because I picked the Chargers to go to the playoffs before the year. So you and I think, are and I said I think they'll probably split with the Chiefs. In a similar mindset, I'm just not quite as far along as you. I think they are closer to the 9th or 10th best team in football than the 3rd or 4th. Here's my biggest question about the Chargers right now. I don't actually know how great the defense is.
That's right.
I know statistically the defense has been unbelievable.
Right.
How much of that is Gardner Minshew and Bryce Young?
That's right.
And how much of that is sustainable? I do think that the Chargers are set up incredibly well to be a true divisional rival for the Chiefs.
Yes.
starting next year.
Okay.
I don't think we'll see that this year. I think the Chiefs are going to win 13 or 14 games. I think the Chargers are going to win 10 or 11. But moving forward, if you have Herbert, you have Harbaugh, you have both your tackles set for the next 10 years, those are the bones of a true contender. So I agree with you in spirit, but I just think it's not quite there yet.
Nick Wright, first things first, humming along. What a show.
Wow.
Budget free, by the
And
way.
once again, you didn't even bring up Darnold. You are the most humble man in America. I mean, you could just be doing another Darnold victory lap. You don't even bring it up. Tip my cap to you. Talk to you next week.
All right, see you, buddy. Hi, everybody. It's me, Uncle Colin. Subscribe here to get the latest from the herd, including exclusive behind-the-scenes videos and more, wherever you may be, however you may be watching. Thanks again for making us part of your day.